remote with my phone.
I did.
Oh, I'm not asking you to make a speech. Actually, I was asking you to
Hold it. I don't have the motion yet. Now better?
Perfect.
Okay.
Oh, we need some pictures?
I can do it.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, modified. Thank you.
All righty. I have been told we are ready to start. Thank you for coming. I'm Dave Ulmer, WakeLP chair. This is our guest speaker event. We seem to be having more guest speakers as of late. Not quite got everyone's attention, but we're still working on it. We will get there in a moment. So as you guys know, and now you're just going to keep preaching this, the things that we're doing in the party is we're trying to make sure we have one charity event every month where we do something in the community. We're trying to make sure we have at least one guest speaker from outside the party that comes and talks to us about a topic of interest. Our topic next week is going to be taxes and transportation at the local level. And that guest speaker is going to be Julie Tisdale. She's from the John Locke Foundation. So if you want to know where all your tax dollars are going and how to work to get them back, come next week and Julie will cover that. And then the third thing that we're trying to do as a party is show up at other people's events, other groups' events, and engage them. You know, like Republicans, Democrats, teachers, unions having events. We're trying to basically find other groups where we think we can find some common ground and have a conversation. Tonight's speaker is James Hines. We have two people running for chair of the Libertarian Party of the state of North Carolina. They had a TV show interview earlier today that will be available, I imagine, in a few days. It will be online soon, and definitely that'll be on our Facebook page. I can guarantee Brad will have it up there with links and what have you. So, nothing else other than to turn the floor over to James, and we'll find out how long the battery in this speaker lasts.
I'm timing it for 15 minutes anyway. So I'll talk for 15 minutes, and then I'll probably use more time for questions and the rest of it. So, again, I am James Hines, and I am running for chairman of the Libertarian Party of North Carolina. Of course, the election for that will be held at the convention. I want to thank so many of you. How many of you are actually going to be attending the convention? You are the sole delegates. So, good. No, you're all pretty much all planning on being there. Good. Thank you so much. I'm very excited. We do have record attendance for this year. I've been here before, and I've had an opportunity to talk to all of you about the convention. Fortunately, I've only actually been working inside the Libertarian Party of North Carolina for about a year now. I really have not had the chance to sit down and break bread with all of you and tell you about who I am, where I've come from, and really why I am even here, how I came to be here. And so I'd like to share some of that with you tonight. I will talk a little bit later about the
Nice fan club.
I have served as chairman of the Libertarian Party of Alabama in the past as a one-term, 2006 into 2007. I'll try to talk about that more later. I also ran a Libertarian radio talk show in Slidell, Louisiana, which was broadcasting into the New Orleans area back in 2009. I have some things to share with you about that. But I want to say, even though I've only been back in North Carolina since 2013, I did live here before. I lived in Winston-Salem back in the mid-1980s. And ended up, I had actually dropped out of school to play music. I ended up getting the opportunity to study guitar under Robert Fripp back in 1985. I was the first guitar craft course that ever held. It was an event that I actually think provided me some qualifications I didn't really expect in a certain way. I'll talk about that later, but that's still my head. After I attended Guilford College, I studied philosophy of religion. I will tell you, when I graduated from Guilford, I was actually fairly depressed. I was not at all happy with what I actually learned in college. I was not all satisfied with what I really expected to get out of studying philosophy and religion, with a real sense of why I was alive, what the purpose of my life was, or reasonably could be, and also from a lot of the influence that I had there. I'll admit I was actually pretty much a socialist by the time that I actually graduated from Guilford College. My grandfather had died not long before and had left me a bit of money, and so I decided I was going to take off and travel. I've been here before, but I've been very focused in one little house, studying the car very intensively, 16 hours a day, and I not really travel. Maybe this will help. So I took a flight over, I got to England, and I started looking for visas to travel to different places. One place I wanted to travel to was Czechoslovakia. And I ended up going into an office for CHEDOC, which was the official state travel agency for travel to Czechoslovakia at the time. And when I went in, I met this girl who was quite pretty and seemed to have taken quite an interest in me. And we were in to have dinner, and next thing I knew, I was dating her, and we were engaged. This is the fall of 1989. And we decided that we would, she wanted to take me back to Czechoslovakia to meet her family. Now, for all we knew at that time, we were going to go and tell them we were going to be married, and as far as we knew, that would mean she would tell them I'm getting married, and they would never see her again. Because the way that things worked under the communist government in Czechoslovakia at the time, you couldn't marry a Westerner and come back here. That wasn't going to work. So we took a flight there. I can tell you a lot of details about the nature of the flight and the travel that I actually took there. But let me jump ahead to the point where we actually sat down with her parents and we were telling them that we were getting married. Now, she spoke Czech in English, her father only spoke Czech, but he said, let me ask him some questions. So I was expecting, what do you do for a living, or can you support my daughter? That wasn't at all the line that he took. He looked at me and he said, so tell me, this America of yours. I said, yes, sir. And he said, you get up in the morning and you go out and you look at the newspaper. Yes, but do they actually say anything critical of your government and your newspapers? And I was like, well, yes, sir, actually they do. Well, okay, fine. But if you turn on the radio, do they actually say anything critical of your government on the radio? Well, yes, sir, they do. He said, oh, yeah, fine. But if you turn on the television, you watch the television, do they actually say anything critical of your government on the television? Well, yes, sir, they do. He said, okay, yeah, fine, but you go out and you go to the pub and you sit down and have a beer with your friends, and you sit at the pub and have a beer with your friends and criticize your government without fear of being arrested.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, sir, you can, I do it regularly, it's fine. Well, the next thing that happened blew my mind. The next thing I knew, he buried his face in his hands, tears streaming down his face, and he starts saying something in Czech which I don't understand. So I turned to my fiance and I said, what is he saying? He said, oh, he's cursing himself. I said, he's cursing himself. Why in God's name is he cursing himself? That he's cursing himself for the fact that in 1968, when the Russians came in to crush the Prague Spring, and he didn't take down the rifle that he still had and go kill as many Russians as he could while he had the chance. That was the first time I understood the true meaning of the Second Amendment. That was the first time I actually really got it. Well, as it turned out, we had landed in Prague on November 17th of 1989. This was November 18th, a Saturday. And on Sunday, we went back into Prague. We went to stay with some of his friends. And it turned out there had been some protests on Friday, even while we were landing in Prague. And maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people had been protested. It was quite a scene. The police had cracked down on things. Sticks and guns and everything, and everywhere that I walked, there were these beautiful alleyways, And everywhere that blood had been spilled, there were students sitting there with red and white candles, melting the red and white candles together, making a makeshift shrine everywhere that the students' blood had been spilled and the demonstration. I stood in the streets of Prague, like from here to up there, watching Václav Havel give speeches to the crowd on Wenceslas Square. And when I left, when I come in on Friday, it was clear the Stalinists were solidly in control. A rough guy in a green coat that scowled at me as he stamped my American passport. When I left, he wasn't there. When I left, all of the experienced people had been brought into the streets of Prague where they were desperate. There were literally millions of people filling the streets, protesting, telling the government to leave. And there was nothing but kids because they were far too large for them, yet they were stationed in the airport. So anyway, that was the first big thing. I came back home to Mobile, Alabama, where I'd grown up, and found out my first grade teacher was starting an organization called Education for Democracy. She invited me to a party after Evan and I got married the next summer. And I went there, and Mrs. Harris was with me. And Mrs. Harris looked at me and said, "Well, James, I have to tell you, I'm so excited about experience in marriage. I want to tell you about Education for Democracy. So what are you going to do?" She said, "We're going to basically raise money, and we're going to have scholarships for American college students to go over to Prague and Czechoslovakia and teach the people over there about democracy and freedom." And I said, "Ms. Harris, I really appreciate what you're trying to do. I applaud your efforts, and it will work in a certain sense, but not the way you think." And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "We've grown up with this. We take it for granted, the rest of it. We take a certain degree of measure of freedom for granted, the rest of it. We don't know what we have, and we'll give it away. There will be education for democracy going on, but it will actually be the Czech kids teaching the American kids about the importance of freedom. They've lived without it for a long time. And we don't know what it is to live under the tyranny that they've lived under. They value freedom more than we do." So anyway, it was my first marriage. We were together for 6 or 7 years. We had disagreements. The other things in my life that I met a wonderful woman named Dr. Edith Wallace later, about 1994. I moved to Santa Fe to be close to her. Edith was a student of a man named, she was a student of Dr. Carl Jung, who was a psychologist. He was also a student of a man named John G. Bennett. I first learned about John G. Bennett because he was also the teacher of my guitar teacher, Robert Fripp. Wonderful man. I really don't have time to go into that. Bennett, in turn, was a student of a man named George Kurtz. When Frank Lloyd Wright received the, I can't remember the exact prize he was winning, 1949 for architecture, he stopped for a moment to say, "The greatest man in the world has just died." His name was George Kurtz. But Edith became a very close friend and a mentor of mine. Edith herself was I wouldn't call her a survivor of the Holocaust, but she did lose much of her family in the Holocaust. She's gotten out of Germany and gone to England before, and yet, in addition to her work as an art therapist and tissue paper collage, special methods she developed, Edith, believe it or not, even as a survivor of the Holocaust, had a psychology, developed what she called the psychology of no blame. And that is basically a recognition of the fact that when we've all decided who's responsible and who's to blame, we're still stuck with the same problem that we had beforehand. And we have to get on with the work of actually figuring out what it is we want to create, what we want to do differently. Let me check this time. So anyway, because of that, I've been involved in trying to write a magnum opus about the right to keep and bear arms. Actually, that had a lot to do with why I was here. I started really studying the Constitution in depth and the rest of it back around 2003, 2004. And that's actually what led me to be a libertarian. I was a dyed-in-the-wool Republican until I actually started really reading the history of the Constitution, really reading why. Delving into the question seriously, why the founders thought that a well-regulated militia was necessary to the security of a free state. A big part of what I learned then was the militia being composed of all able-bodied men, civilian soldiers, was only ever meant to be used for the absolute literal defense of the country. It was never meant to be used for any kind of foreign activity. And as Madison said, there's no greater threat to our freedom than a state of war. You wanted to go to war, you had to raise an army with paid soldiers. When you start talking about paid soldiers, you start talking about taxes. If citizens don't like the taxes, then the same army that's raised that's dependent on those taxes can theoretically be used and has been frequently used to forcibly collect those taxes from citizens that don't want them. So thereby preserves freedom as well. Well, anyway, I came to realize, the Democrats definitely don't understand the right to keep and bear arms, and it's sad that they don't. It's actually meant to preserve peace. Unfortunately, the Republicans don't understand it either, because the purpose of a well-regulated militia, among other things, was to prevent the establishment of armies. Right? The Republican tells you, vote for me, I'll protect your right to keep and bear arms, right? And the next thing is, so long as you're happy having a huge and growing military. So I realized the importance of actually getting involved in the Libertarian Party and trying to communicate that message in so many more. As chair, I will say, during my term as chairman of the Libertarian Party of Alabama, I will tell you that was actually for me a very depressing experience. And the reason it was a depressing experience is, I don't know if y'all remember last year's convention in Orlando. There was that moment, and I'll be honest, it really ticked me off. When John McAfee got up on stage and he shamed everybody for the fact that there was a crowd full of white crowds. Am I happy, a crowd full of white faces? Am I happy that our conventions don't have more diversity in faces? Of course I'm not happy about it. I want everybody in on the Libertarian Party. Right after I became chairman of the Libertarian Party of Alabama, I went home and Governor Bob Riley, it was a godsend. Governor Bob Riley stepped in Mobile, on the county commission for Mobile. I'm going all over 15 minutes, but I want to tell you this story. Sam Jones was the representative for what's called District 1 in Mobile for the Mobile County Commission. And he was a black man, and he had, when he became mayor, he had to resign his seat on the Mobile County Commission. He still had like 4 years left on his term in the Mobile County Commission. Well, the people of District 1 went to a judge and they said, we'd like to schedule an election to elect our representative for the Mobile County Commission. And the judge first stamped it. Then Governor Riley stepped in. He said his lawyer said, no, not having any of this. The Constitution of the state of Alabama says that in the event of a vacancy, the governor gets to fill that seat. Now, I understand the idea of a governor filling a vacancy on a commission like that. If you've got 6 months left before there's an election, or maybe a year left, right? We're talking like better part of 4 years left on this term. And the other thing about it was that the person that he nominated, a guy named Juan Castang, had not actually been living in the district that he was supposed to represent. When the TV cameras showed up at the place they said that he was living, there were literally chains and padlocks on the door. Okay, he'd been teaching basketball in an entirely separate district, living in an entirely different district, until Governor Riley decided I wanted to put you there. Juan Chastain was a black man, and no one but a black person had been elected to be a representative for District 1 since the Civil Rights Act of 1964. But no Republican had ever been elected to that seat in that time. So Governor Riley found someone who was basically a black person to go in and then take that seat, and I came to take a point because he had some projects he wanted to get done. As chairman of the Libertarian Party of Alabama at that time, I issued a press release calling for the impeachment of Governor Riley. The only way that somebody could meaningfully be said to be a representative of District 1 is if the people of District 1 elected that person. Okay? I discussed this with him. Anyway, long story short, my authority to issue press releases on behalf of the Libertarian Party of Alabama was revoked by my executive committee. Okay, I discussed this with Michael Badnark, who I've become good friends with, and I read the press release to Michael over the phone, and Michael's question for me was, what did they not like? Your grammar? Okay. Anyway, I will tell you that there are a number of things we need to do here, and I'm not going to take a lot longer. Obviously, the party needs to be concerned with education. We need to be concerned with finding good candidates, and we need to be concerned with local affiliates. I'm going to tell you, in terms of Wake County, I want to do everything I can to travel around the state and do everything I can to encourage local affiliates. I want to come back to Wake County to find out more about what you guys are doing, because frankly, I'm blown away and humbled by what you guys have done. I want to see events created to bring people in. One thing I do really want to do is I really do want to bring in a more diverse community into the Libertarian Party. I do want to make outreach, particularly to the Black community and to other communities, to try to explain to them. Actually, one thing that's been pretty well demonstrated, actually, when they do the World Political Quiz, Blacks actually tend to test out Libertarian higher than the general population does, right? We know the war on drugs affects them very disproportionately, but the truth of the matter is, one thing I will say, and I'm not happy with John McAfee for scolding us about this. Our doors are open. We want as diverse a community inside as we can. But at the same time, yes, I do want to see us do everything we can to try to have a more diverse group of people participate. So anyway, with that, I'm going to open the floor up to questions.
Repeat the question first.
One of the things that's occurred
Repeat
to
the
me-
question, please. Repeat the question.
The question is for having action items. The primary thing that comes to mind is actually to send letters, first of all, to every Black college that I can, requesting an opportunity to come to their college or university and give a presentation on libertarianism and precisely how I see libertarianism as being something that should be of interest and importance to them.
How would you want to
Oh. Yeah. In the event that I did not prevail and that I do not become chair, how could I continue to be, involved in the party? One thing is generally for libertarians, I'm still determined to finish my book on the Second Amendment. Will help to bring a lot of people in. If I am chair, I'll still be working on that too. Time management. Other than that, it remains to be seen. Another thing I didn't mention, another thing that I've spent a good deal of time engagement over the past 2 to 3 years, is studying under a man named Robert Cook, who teaches the creative process. And I've used what I've learned from Robert. I've tried to apply that to creating this convention. And I'm very satisfied. I can't take unilateral credit for that because I didn't register anybody other than myself to attend. But other than that, I am very encouraged by the fact that we're approaching having almost twice as many people attend this convention as have attended any convention.
So the North Carolina Party is growing.
Yes.
And but what is it? 99 counties is a lot of work. And most of those, we don't have a formal organization. What is your specific strategy? I won't say specific. What's your general strategy to increase the number of counties that have an organization?
To get a list of all of the people that we do know inside each county. And I can't promise that I can travel to 99 counties, but to actually personally travel to as many counties as I can and sit down and break bread with people that do know live in those counties and encourage them to actually create an affiliate.
Wake County's not the only organized county.
But it's the
It's
best.
like 25 counties.
I will say, man, and I think my record speaks for itself, that I have sought out as many opportunities as I could to travel across the state and promote the convention.
So, I've been following your Facebook pages and really enjoying reading, I guess, a lot of background information about how you approach libertarianism in general and the party specifically. In your most recent one, I did have one question though. You said that libertarian candidates were like throwing a match on the floor.
Yeah.
And that match really wasn't going to do anything unless there were all of these kind of other things that existed for.
Well, what I'm trying to say again, it's interesting. When we look at the purposes of the party, right, one part says that the responsibility of the party is, the mission of the party is to promote libertarian political ideas. Another one talks about candidates. What I'm trying to say is that, you know, a candidate is like a struck match that you toss onto the floor. If there's fuel on the floor, then catch fire and go. But what I'm trying to say is, we need, you know, libertarians, we've got a responsibility for eating our own. We elect these candidates, they go out, they work for their office to try to do a campaign, and they fall short. And all too frequently, I find that we really just come down really hard on our candidates when we're disappointed with the results of the election. But the fact of the matter is, their ability to get more winning elections depends entirely on the work that each of us has done in the 2 to 4 years between elections, talking to friends, explaining libertarian ideas, overcoming objections, and doing whatever we got to do to actually live up to libertarian ideas. And
What would you say to someone who came up to you and said, I'm thinking about running for General Assembly as a libertarian? Would you tell them, hold off until we...
No,
Okay.
I'm not, because here's the other, I mean, you know, it's funny, it actually, there's a very reciprocal relationship that goes on. There is also the aspect that, yeah, while on the one hand, yes, campaigns depend upon the education we've done before, that, you know, with every campaign, one dimension of a campaign is that it's actually also an opportunity to educate people, which might benefit the next one. Whether you get elected or not, of course we do want to win elections ultimately, but there's no two ways about it. But actually running a campaign is a great educational opportunity, among other things, in and of itself. And then, of course, the other question there would be, right, all politics is local. So another question we need to be looking at is, again, I'm completely humbled by what you're doing in Wake County. But the other question is really asking, what's important to the people of Wake County? What's important to the people in the district that you're running on? What can we start to craft a message to explain to the people of your district how libertarianism will benefit, will apply to the causes that are most important to them in that district?
Thanks. You had mentioned an interest in outreach to the African American community.
Yeah.
You had spoken about the issue of inequitable incarceration based on race. Whether that's intentional or not is not the question. What do you think is another pressing issue for the African American community, and how does libertarianism address that issue, preferably one not related to the criminal justice system?
Okay, housing and urban development. Yeah, a lot of what's going on. You know, how these people think, oh, gee, without government, how would I have housing, right? The truth of that is a lot of the reasons in these areas are economically depressed. Has a lot to do with the breakdown of the family in those areas. And the fact of the matter is that the government housing programs themselves are designed in such a way that if a couple is married and or stays married, it's all but entirely impossible for them to get the government housing. So helping them understand that actually, however frightened they may be of losing what they have, helping them understand also the poison that's involved in the fact that the key to all slavery is dependence. I mean, helping them understand that the very government housing that they look at as being a gift or a handout or blessing to them is in fact the way that it's actually crafted works. It actually is the key to destroying their families, and destroying their families is a big part of the key to their accomplishment.
Question. What would be your goal? I feel like libertarians.
Yep.
How would you?
I was mentioning to you earlier the fact that my own daughter, her first love was another girl. And so she identifies as LGBTQ. She's actually since had a couple of boyfriends. So we're not really sure. But it doesn't necessarily, even after I we talked about that a lot. And one of the fundamental things that I say to her is when she really started pushing, and she's asked, you know, well, why did I vote for Libertarian as opposed to a Democrat? Democrat seemed to be more. And it's like, here's the thing, what do you want to bank on? You want to bank on the idea of everybody liking you, everybody absolutely being ready to, it's the only support, you don't want to have a supporter unless they're ready to get up and go to every gay pride parade with you. Or would you rather bank on being free to live your life the way that you want to live it? Because of a general cultural ethos of, look, you really don't care what you do, how you live your life, the rest of it. As long as what you're doing doesn't violate my right to life, liberty, property, and pursuit of happiness, I'm not asking you to participate or subsidize it. Yeah? Hey, I may not like it at all. I may talk about it, but I promise you this. I want to interfere, and I want these people to walk in. What do you think is bigger numbers? And actually just making people really like you and constantly supporting you, or being happy to leave you alone, especially if you don't interfere with their life.
Kind of like walk at a thing.
Any other questions?
I mean, I know that, I'm kind of making it and, sometimes things like that drive me away, or like people saying, like, we're not libertarian enough, or something like that. How would you kind of address that? Also, the service this policy will not entirely
Here's the thing I think we all agree on. And that is, all libertarians, whether we're constitutional monarchists, as I consider myself, whether we're an anarchist, we all realize, well, we all have to, we turn on the TV, we know one thing, and that is, as much as we all agree we want to reduce the intervention of government into our economic lives and into our personal lives, the rest of it, that at the moment, government is growing, and it's growing very fast. So my thought is, keep it very simple. If you're interested in stopping the growth of government and then reducing government, reducing taxation, government intrusion into our personal private lives, and doing all that at the same time, then please go along. I don't know civil terms, I can put it in the map.
Ryan, are you?
Up to you.
You want?
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. So, the exciting part here is that there's a body of people who are concerned about the well-being of the Libertarian Party. Not next Wednesday we have a wonderful Tisdale. I forget her first name. Julie, thank you. Julie Tisdale will be here next week. We'll be discussing some transportation issues, which I deeply enjoy, so I'll definitely be here. The following Tuesday, we'll be holding a format similar to this one. Susan Hogarth is also running for chair and will be speaking. And so please bring your questions, develop those questions, and put her to task. The truth being, that's the part that's exciting, is not when we're down to a lowest common denominator, but when there's an actual competition for ideas and how we advance. Better things are forged that way. I think that's a libertarian idea, that competition forges better answers, forges better ideas, forges better outcomes. So things are looking great for the Libertarian Party.
2 events on the 30th. 2 events on the 30th. Brunch.
Well, before we get to that one, we have on Tuesday, and that's the 25th. Is that the 25th?
Yes, next Tuesday is the 25th. Right.
Okay. There'll be a candidate forum in Forsyth County with Susan and James, and it will be webcast, so you don't have to head out to Forsyth County to attend, observe, or glean what's going on.
Oh yeah, if anyone wants.
That's going to be on the WakeLP site, so you'll be, and so on the LPNC site. So either portal will bring you there. Tune in. Develop the questions for Susan. On the 30th, we have 2 events, and the one is
Brunch.
I'm trying to remember what it's called in French.
Oh.
You named it. Come on.
Let's say like bon temps brûlé.
What he said, that's it. And we are going to enjoy our mimosas at 9:59. Just because we're libertarian. But no, actually, the key there being is, as we all know, and we've been sharing and discussing, is the state has decided that there might not be critical harm for us to be able to have an alcoholic beverage before or after a particular period of time that they've deemed safe. So, in honor of them moving to a more open, which I just find hilarious, the news has just plastered this coast to coast over how wonderful this is, that we can have our alcoholic beverage at 10 a.m. instead of noon on Sunday. Oh, it was such
I'll be in church praying for you. Drinking my wine.
Now, following that event, now I'm going to need some assistance, and so I'll give you half a second. I might end the exciting thing is people are becoming aware that the government's role and the lack of logic of the government's role in some of these issues. Libertarians is to stand up and say, well, we've been saying this all along, so now that you're waking up, come on, let's go. And so I'm going to invite everybody to come join us for some mimosas at 9:59. One in front of me, or I'm going to feel offended. And now I'm going to introduce David to discuss our next service event.
Not quite ready yet.
Not quite ready yet? Oh, okay, very well. Now, on the service events, we actually just did on Saturday. We did an interfaith food shuttle program that we provided a body of volunteers to help bag up some produce and bring it out to families who are in need.
Something that we've been doing here in Wake is really looking at service opportunities. We honestly believe that the community coming together voluntarily is how we address real problems in our community. Just because we don't believe in the government solving problems doesn't mean the problems don't exist. But it does mean that it needs investment of ourselves. It needs our time and our efforts to solve those problems as volunteers. And so we strongly encourage you to find those volunteer efforts. If you want to bring extra bodies, let us know. We can coordinate an event and bring extra bodies and show up in force. But at the end of the day, we can say we don't want to be forced to do certain things. I think there's a moral obligation to show up and do it. And that's what we've been doing. It's been very rewarding, spiritually, emotionally. It's just an enjoyable thing to go out and do. And it's by people going out and doing that we can then say with honesty and integrity, we don't need you to do this, we've got this. Thank you. I'm going to introduce Olin Watson. He's going to take 2 minutes and tell us a little bit about what's going on in his
2 minutes, whoever.
Give it money, give it money.
2 minutes. Okay. Good evening. We got a couple of folks. Not everybody's actually newspaper's been here some years ago, but it's good to see him. Deep South Entertainment is what he works with. Sir, I don't know you, but I'm going to get to know you guys before the evening. I wanted to say thank you to the county party. You guys have really been supporting me, not with just money, which is great, but people actually doing things. Amy, bang up job, thank you. Now this week, I went to Justice Serve, bringing back the community, the fair housing community discussion. I've been to two CAC meetings, and I've been to something else. I plan to be the hardest working person. When you're working for me, with me, I plan to work much harder than you. So that is going to come to a head soon. We actually got a volunteer named JD who's produced a terrific Google map for us. We're going to be able to hopefully get in touch with 200 plus libertarians. That's just District C alone. So this is the point. Every activity perpetuates more activity, perpetuates more involvement. So when you invest in that activity, and getting your feet and your hands out there and doing something, it will produce rewards. More than just our nice meetings here. You need your hands and feet. It's going to benefit my campaign, but it's our campaign. It's our purpose for being here to get people elected. So thank you so much for being here tonight. That was 7 minutes and 20. Thank you guys. Thank you. Good money though. I like overlong.org.
Final note, we just figured out the speaker will last for at least 45 minutes. Thank you.
Was it?